Let's jump right into this explainer and uncover a hidden margin opportunity that is literally sitting right on your retail shelves. If you're a buyer or category manager for a large mass retailer, you know the constant pressure to find new avenues for growth. Today, we're zeroing in on the paper, gift packaging, and lifestyle stationery section. For years, let's be honest, this aisle has kind of been treated as an afterthought, right? Just a place for low-value, generic, functional items. But what if you could shift your mindset from single SKU sourcing to private label category growth and unlock serious shelf appeal and seasonal sales? Well, let's explore exactly how to do that.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the hidden shelf opportunity, moving from SKUs to categories, the shelf growth engine, winning with seasonal programs, de-risking the supply chain, and finally, your category execution partner.
Section 1. The hidden shelf opportunity.
$271 billion. That is a massive number. In 2024, U.S. store brand sales hit that record high, which proves something absolutely crucial. Consumers aren't just hunting for the cheapest generic option anymore. They're actually treating private labels with the exact same respect as national brands. In fact, nearly 90% of U.S. consumers now believe private labels offer similar or even better value than traditional name brands.
Because of this massive shift, paper and stationery products simply cannot be treated as low-value afterthoughts. McKinsey really hit the nail on the head here, noting that leading retailers are treating their private labels just like CPG brands. When you apply this logic to things like notebooks, planners, and gift bags, they stop being basic functional commodities. They become high-margin, differentiated brand assets that actively build consumer loyalty and drive foot traffic.
Section 2. From SKUs to categories. To actually capture that value, we have to transition away from old retail logic. The old way was simple, but heavily flawed. You'd ask a supplier for a price on a single generic notebook, compare it to another supplier, and just buy the cheapest one. But this new category logic completely changes the game. Instead of comparing single-item prices, you're evaluating the total value of occasion-based, thematic category displays. So you aren't just buying a generic SKU, you're building a branded series that tells a cohesive story right there on the shelf.
Think about the evolution of a simple product. A single generic SKU is just a notebook. But when you add complementary items, say sticky notes and folders, it becomes a product line. When you unite all of those with, for instance, a cohesive botanical design theme, it becomes a themed collection. Time that launch perfectly for the back-to-school rush or an office refresh, and suddenly it's a seasonal program. Finally, when you bring it all under your store's distinct brand, it's a full private label category. You're designing for emotional value, aesthetics, and seasonal gifting, completely transforming the consumer's buying experience.
Section 3. The shelf growth engine. So how do we actually pull off this upgrade? Well, you need a framework known as the shelf growth engine model. You can't just rely on a pretty design or a cheap price to win at retail anymore. You have to manage 5 levers simultaneously. That's design-led differentiation to grab attention, occasion-based merchandising to drive the purchase, private label development for brand loyalty, responsible sourcing to ensure compliance, and supply chain resilience to guarantee delivery. Honestly, if even one of these fails, the whole category program stalls.
Practically speaking, this looks like a product opportunity map. By matching specific consumer needs to targeted, highly profitable shelf moments, you stop selling isolated items. For example, instead of just throwing gift bags on a shelf, you sell an entire gift packaging solution for Christmas that includes boxes, tags, and matching wrapping paper. Instead of a random planner, you offer a full New Year planning and journaling setup. You're aligning the product directly with the consumer's specific occasion.
A major European retailer literally proved this by dropping their traditional fragmented product zones, where all the notebooks are in one aisle and all the gift bags in another. Instead, they adopted thematic displays like holiday gifting and New Year planning, putting matching color systems together. And here is the crazy part. Even though they actually reduced their overall SKU count, sales went up. Why? Because they made it drastically easier for consumers to understand the occasion and just buy the entire matching set.
Section 4. Winning with seasonal programs.
This entire approach requires a massive shift from reactive replenishment to proactive, year-round seasonal project planning. Paper products are inherently seasonal, right? You have New Year planning in Q1, Mother's Day and graduation in Q2, back to school in Q3, and holiday gifting in Q4. By mapping this out, you align perfectly with the consumer's emotional mindset throughout the entire year. It turns your paper aisle into a dynamic, constantly refreshing destination.
For procurement folks, schedule predictability is absolutely everything. Take holiday gifting, for example. Retailers used to wait until 3 months before Q4 to order, which led to massive price pressure, rushed designs, and capacity bottlenecks. It was a nightmare. But by mapping holiday gifting over a full year, confirming themes in Q1, sampling in Q2, producing in Q3, and launching in Q4, you lock in factory capacity, you give yourself room for design iterations, and you completely eliminate that peak season panic.
Section 5. De-risking the supply chain.
Now, a brilliant category strategy and beautiful designs mean absolutely nothing without resilient, compliant execution on the back end. Meeting baseline standards set by giants like Walmart, Target, and the EU is just non-negotiable today. Your sustainability and compliance checklist absolutely needs to include FSC-certified materials, social audits like SMETA, and an active reduction of unnecessary plastics in their packaging. In today's retail landscape, a supplier's ability to help you meet corporate sustainability goals is just as important as their unit price.
When we look at the actual execution flow, large retailers aren't just sourcing paper products anymore. They're essentially sourcing a supplier's risk control capability across a really complex 9-step process. We're talking from the initial concept and sampling all the way through material confirmation, strict quality control, and final shipment. A breakdown in any single one of these links, like a mixed packing error during shipment, can literally ruin a seasonal launch. You need a partner who controls every single step.
Section 6. Your category execution partner.
So that brings us to a really critical question. Finding a factory that can print a notebook? That's easy. But finding a strategic category partner who can handle Q1 design conceptualization, manage complex material compliance, and ensure flawless Q4 delivery at a mass retail scale, that is the real challenge. You need way more than just an order taker. You need a co-developer.
This is where a dedicated category growth support system comes into play, like the framework utilized by Lion Paper. They act as a turnkey partner, designed specifically for this modern environment. Instead of just quoting single items, they provide comprehensive support. They handle everything from private label customization and design right down to the actual paper-based manufacturing and stringent quality control. They basically act as a true extension of your own category team. Operationally, you need total supply chain flexibility to pull this off at scale. For example, having a China and Cambodia dual-base production setup is a massive advantage for U.S. buyers. It ensures agility, it diversifies geopolitical risk, and it keeps you insulated from global disruptions, all while maintaining strict responsible sourcing standards. It's a real game changer. Transforming your shelves from a sea of cheap commodities into a high-margin brand destination is totally within reach. It just requires a shift in mindset and finding an execution partner who truly understands category growth. So, take a hard look at your aisles today. Ask yourself, are you just stacking SKUs, or are you building a year-round engine for growth? Thanks for joining this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.